Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to, again, a semi sort of tank review, this time of the um, Tiger 2H. Now, why again a German tank? And especially, why again a King Tiger? This is practically the same tank as the one with 10.5, right? Not quite. And it has to do with the gun and the ammunition. Um, the 10.5 centimeter King Tiger, in my opinion, is tier for tier or battle rating for battle rating, not as good as the Tiger 2H. And it has to do with the rate of fire. And also the rest of the firepower, so to speak. Now, I had a very nice game that practically showed everything that you need to do in the Tiger 2H and especially in a lot of tanks in general. And also that you can get to some nice places where you wouldn't expect this tank to get. Now, first of all, let's take a very quick look at the, oops, that's the wrong thing, at the armor, and we can see that we have the same armor layout on the hull as on every King Tiger and the Yak Tiger. The lower plate being a big weak spot, but the upper plate being practically impenetrable for everything which is not heat or APDS. APCR will bounce. There are no normal solid shots or APHE shells that will go through, maybe with the exception of the T10M's stock shell and the M103's stock shell. The big weak spot is, of course, or the main target area is the turret front. Why? Because it's flat and it's just 185 millimeters thick. This area is penetratable for any kind of ammunition with this kind of penetration, which sounds strangely obvious, but you have to think about this. This is actually also a very good area for APCR. So, and that brings me to the next point. Let's talk about the side. The side is a huge area. You can't miss a King Tiger from the side. And when you have like 100 millimeters of penetration and the tank is not angled, you are a big target. Now let's have a quick look at X-ray, and we can see that we have 5 crew members. Here is of course the driver, the machine gunner, the loader, the gunner, and the commander. And behind the commander is something not good, or it's ammunition, which often causes for unexpected King Tiger drivers to be one shot even by solid shot shells such as APDS or APCR. So there are at this point a few tips I have to give to you, and that has to do with the ammunition. Take out the ammunition. That means at the beginning of the battle, take all the ammunition you want except 21 shells. Now, as you can, when you count it, there are 22 shells, but one of them is counted as being in the breach at the beginning, and this is the very big difference to such tanks as the King Tiger, the Mouse, or the E100, or therefore the 10.5 centimeter King Tiger. And that has to do that this is a single piece ammunition. And you can take it out, unlike on the E100, for example, or partially the Mouse, or especially the 10.5 centimeter King Tiger. You have always warheads in the back of the turret, and you can't take them out. Here, you can take them out. And even with the ammunition here in the turret being removed, you have so much ammunition left, as you can quite clearly see. Now, in my opinion, it really does not help too much to take out the ammunition on one side, as when you get flanked, you will lose your crew relatively fast, especially against Russian tanks. So there is one enormously important trick that I have to show you, and that has to do with this beauty here, the gun mantle. This is your sole savior in any kind of engagement. When you face a tank that can penetrate the front of your turret, you have to use the gun mantle. Now, how do you do this? First of all, the hull is mostly not the target, but it is one tool of your toolbox, so to speak. First of all, you have to angle like this, but you have to be careful not to over angle your side. And then you have to point your gun straight to the enemy and then go a bit from left to right and left to right. Especially at long ranges, this is so effective. And your gun mantle, it doesn't show it entirely, but this gun mantle is practically impenetrable. Bounced uh, I've bounced M103s with their heat shells, Leopards, and even ATGMs with it. When they hit um, the gun mantle. So this is your soul savior. Or they will miss that and hit this and the side, and they often will ricochet. Also, the side and together, also the gun mantle, they are not accessible for hash shells. So then, yeah, I think let's talk about the firepower itself. And we have, I think, one of the most intuitively usable guns in the game. One of the best guns overall in the game with the best mix of stats, so to speak. And that is the long 88. And the best ammunition for it is the stock shell. 235 millimeters of penetration is everything you need. You can penetrate enemy king tigers up to 1,500 meters, which is a very long distance. And you sadly these days in War Thunder you won't engage enemy targets at this distance anymore. At the beginning it was possible to kill targets very reliable up to a kilometer, and with a bit of skill and misplay of the enemy up to 2,000 meters. I did it. Sadly, at this point, I didn't record it, so shame on me. The APCR is typically APCR rather useless. There is just one case where it might be usable, and this is in a head-on engagement against a Yak Tiger. But let me tell you one thing, there is no non-Russian tank that likes to go head-on with a Yak Tiger in the first place. So, APCR at this battle rating rather useless, because there is no tank, with the exception of probably the King Tiger, that you can penetrate with the or the Yak Tiger, sorry about that, that you can penetrate with the APCR shell, that you couldn't penetrate with the APCBC or APHE shell in the first place. And also the damaging effect here is much more or much bigger and much more reliable than with APCR. Also, the APCR costs money and is the last upgrade you should get anyways. And talking about upgrades, which upgrades should you get? Well, first of all, of course, this is a heavy tank, so you need parts. You also need the horizontal turret drive. Your turret is very important, as you get tracked all the time. Then fire prevention system, it really helps this tank a lot, in my opinion. Surprisingly, the tracks are also really important, as you, as I said, get tracked a lot, and it increases the module strength of the tracks and also helps you a little bit to traverse this extra bit faster. Then all the adjustment of fire is important, and the elevation mechanism, as you need to get the most performance out of this gun, because the gun is really very good. Then about the rest of the upgrades, the heat shell is pointless. APCR for me personally is pointless. Don't waste your time. I researched them at the very end. Engine. So after you have researched this part, and the tracks, go for the engine, transmission, filters, suspension, brake system, and then the last two upgrades. So about the crew, again, of course, this is a heavy tank, which also relies on its survivability, especially when this tank gets up-tiered a lot, and which isn't that much the case anymore. I have to be honest about this part. But you know, when enemy fire heat shells at you or APDS shells, they have actually quite a hard time one-shotting you, except if you have ammunition in a turret, which I talked about earlier. So, yeah, one-shotting a King Tiger from the front with a heat shell or a APDS shell is very tricky. And to abuse it, especially against such tanks like the Conqueror, which you surprisingly don't see on the battlefield anymore, you need your agility. That helps you a lot in terms of replacing the crew members. And maybe you can beat the reload of the enemy tank. Then vitality, of course, helps your crew members to survive. Tank driving is not that important, but you know, you shouldn't neglect it. Field repair for all crew members is very important. Then for your gunner, again, targeting and range finding, as you need the full capabilities of this gun, and it is a very accurate gun, so use it. Also vitality and agility, and especially agility on the gunner, as it is your priority target of the enemy. Then for the tank commander, leadership, that is something you cannot avoid to get, or you can't get better with the upgraded qualifications for silver and probably gold. Also, the tank loader is important, as you have a rather high rate of fire with a base reload rate of 11 seconds, at best 8.5 with a gold crew, but 9 seconds for a silver crew. And the radio operator is, you know, gun fodder, so to speak. And I think on this tank especially, this is the expert crew is a must-have on this. I think, yeah, probably upgrade qualification to ace, and also talking about one more module that not a lot of people have, and that is the talisman. And arguably, it's not the stupidest idea, as it is a tier 4 tank, and this tank is quite similar to, in my opinion, the best premium you can get, which is the Tiger 2H SLA 16, because this tank, the Panzerbefehlswagen 6P, is useless, and while I love the Jagdpanther, it is a tank destroyer, and it doesn't give you the versatility of a proper tank. So, I think that's enough theory crafting. Let's get into a proper battle, shall we? So, here we are on Ash River once again. Yeah, I always have at least decent games on Ash River, if there is not a massive traffic jam going on. I mentioned it, this is one of the things that Gaijin has to address at some point in the future, after over 2 years of having tanks in the game, making proper spawns, but hey, who am I to judge this? Yeah, my plan here is to go are on top of the ridgeline in front of me. One tip: whenever you're crossing the enemy lane of fire, you should point at least your turret front towards them. It might sound so obvious, but often it is not obvious, and you point the stronger armor towards the enemy, and in case of the King Tiger, also the smaller target. Now I see this IS-2 there, and yeah, I tried a shot, but I missed. And then thankfully this IS-3 gives me a clear way, and I try to get into cover, and this IS-2 bounces on the side of the turret, it seems like, which, yeah, he could have ended the game right now and there. So I get into a position that is heavily underestimated. I used this position the other way around in my Churchill tank review, and it won't be a disappointing in this case either. But little spoiler alert, I will not survive it. But let's focus on the present, and I am here activating the crosshair light. Again, I think it really helps me to get into this hunting mood, so to speak. So I'm maneuvering hard here, and yeah, I'm trying to get vision on my potential enemies, and also this lengthened rock provides me with excellent cover from tanks that potentially might flank me, and gives me also a good option to do potentially side scraping. But I see this IS-3 after giving this King Tiger a nice shot in the turret side, and I back off. Then I track this Panther F, and yeah, deny him the retreat. Another shot in the turret, and this is the difference. This is the difference in performance between the 10.5 centimeter King Tiger and the Henschel King Tiger with the long 88. The reload difference is immense, but so is the shell damage performance. The long 88 is a very good gun, but the shell it delivers doesn't have quite the punch of Russian 85mm guns. It is how it is in the game. And especially this ammunition can't simply compare in its damage effect to the ASU 85, which I played quite a bit, the last few days. By the way, the grind is over. I now have again all vehicles in the game, and all vehicles of rank 1, 2, 3, and 4, both planes and tanks, are fully spaded. And yeah, now I can do again proper reviews of any kind. And at some point, after finishing off this IS-2 casually, I might feature some high-tier British tanks. Yeah. So, as you can see, this position is very good. I can have nice side shots on the enemy once they try to push into the A cap, and when they try to go up on this ridge to face me head on, they have to always, give their side to my team. This is why getting here in the early stages of the battle is so important. By the way, that was my 5th kill. Because the early stages of a battle, especially in arcade, gives you the option or the possibility to get into a position that under normal circumstances, in the normal flow of the battle, next kill, you have quite a hard time to get there. And as you can see, I'm just farming kills here. Okay, I'm I'm relatively safe from return fire. And while I think that this tank is very well armored, you know, the enemy's guns are very capable of punching through your armor. And this is what I want to tell you. This T-44 um, is in a bad position right now. Um, if it would be like an IS-2 or a King Tiger, he probably could, kill me in return fire. But he has not the gun to challenge my armor when I'm playing my cards right, of course. Um, then there is this IS-3, and I actually take a risk here, going a bit forward, and I try to shoot below the spaced armor, which is very important. And I let this T-34-85 burn. I need to take down the IS-3. Nice! And then I can kill the T-34-85. And I have no idea what this IL-10 was doing. Uh, he, he was, I don't know, crashing into his own teammates. Yeah, don't know, so I didn't get the kill. But as you can see, um, it's not just the kills that I make that are beneficial for me, it's also, of course, winning the game. In this position, I just delay. I really delay the enemy's advance. I, I'm really disturbing their movements. When they ignore me, I kill them. When they focus me, they can't, advance. That was my 9th kill, by the way. And also, you know, by giving side shots, I make full use of, first of all, the rate of fire, the penetration. I have less bounces, especially on Russian tanks such as the IS-2. If you don't aim very carefully, you just bounce on the turret front. And just to be fair here, you bounce as well on the turret front of the Tiger 2P. And this is basically one of the biggest criticism points on War Thunder. I did an excellent job, and there is coming an A8 and I can do nothing. I backed off, which was actually a fault. I extinguished the fire, but now I give the flank to the enemy. My turret ring is damaged, my gun is damaged, engine and tracks are down. There is nothing I can do, and so I got finished off by a Tiger 2P. And yeah, so this is the one thing that really annoys me a lot, that your own skill gets just thrown away by some idiot that probably killed 2 bots, then went into an attacker, got lucky, got the Focke-Wulf 190A8 with the 2 big rockets, and he just slams himself into you, and just before the impact releases the rockets, making sure that they hit. And that is also a big point of criticism about my teams in general, not about this team especially, but as well. And that is, we have no triple A that shot at the plane. And also, there was nobody trying to even intercept it with the plane itself. And I was ripped out of a position that was really, really bad for the enemy team. And so I desperately tried to get into the same position again. And I actually did something that I never do. I used a backup vehicle because I thought that this battle just was too precious to just leave. And also it shows good footage, it shows tactics, it shows what this tank can do. Now, this was a top tier battle, I have to be fair. And I used the tanks, or I used the tank in a very strong position to its advantages, and the enemy really never contested me. I didn't have the gun depression, so I backed off. And then I tried to do some um, some semi side scraping. I actually bounced a shell here on my gun mantle again, but that was more luck than skill. Um, the thing is this: I think this tank is not powerful enough when facing top tiers, and that has to do with especially the Russian heavies. I don't have so much problems against American and British tanks or other German top tier tanks, as this gun can penetrate actually everything with the stock shell and do tremendous amounts of damage. But against Russian medium tanks and a Russian uh, you know heavy tanks such as the IS-4, the IS-3, you can't do much effectively. Yes, they have their weak spots, I agree on that, but they are ridiculously small. They are comically small, to be precise. And yeah, somebody accused me here of camper, which is funny because he was the one hiding the entire game in the background. And I just sniped him, and he was not very happy about that. Yeah, and I was actually surprised that I was in a squad. Something has changed, because in an auto squad I normally couldn't send messages to, so to say, my squad members, and I aimed carefully, but it was not to be. So let's have a quick look at the post-battle result screens. And we can see that for 11 kills, one of them being AI, and 1 assist, and numerous other things, I got 63,000 silver lines and 4,600 RP. I was second with 2,662 victory points, so to speak, on a premium account, and I hadn't activated any boosters. So that's the Tiger 2H for you. I think one of the best tanks at 6.7. I hope you liked the video. Please give it a like if you did so. Let me know in the comment section below what your experiences with the King Tiger series are, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already if you want to see more. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you on the battlefield.